And we'll start resting in constructive rest pose. On your back, knees bent, line your feet up with your sit bones. Make sure your shoulder blades are spread. Your arms are wider than your mat with your palms turned up, so you feel your upper back nice and broad. Relax the neck. Settle into the back of the head. And take a moment to relax down into gravity. Letting the body sink down into the floor. Taking the release into gravity. Every point where you're in contact with the floor, drop into it. Feel your neutral spine today. Notice whatever little curve is naturally showing up behind your lower back. Feel the back of the pelvis. If you don't feel exactly even side to side in the pelvis, let your back pocket spread a little bit and even out the weight at the back of the pelvis. Now let's keep working with the zipping up image that we used last week. You may have noticed I didn't include the pelvic floor, but this week let's include the pelvic floor so that the feeling of zipping up is the gathering of the pelvic floor. And then imagine you got tight jeans on that need to be pulled around your hips. And then with that sense of pulling around the hips, then you zip up from pubic bone to sternum. So there's a lot going on, but we're trying to find that gathering of the transversus abdominis. So let's practice that a few times without any movement. Locate the pelvic floor, feel the tailbone, the sit bones, the pubic bone, picture the diamond. Before we engage it, also picture that you have a pair of jeans on and they're going to be snug. We haven't snugged them yet, but they're going to be. So feel the way they're wrapping around before we are zipped up. Take an inhale to prepare. Exhale, gather the pelvic floor and then pull the jeans snug around the hips and zip up from your pubic bone to your breastbone. And then relax with the inhale. Let yourself sink into gravity. Release that work completely. See if you can soften the front of the hips also. Keep the neck and shoulders easy. Inhale, prepare to do it again. And exhale, gather the pelvic floor. Pull the jeans snug around the hips, and then zip yourself up. And then relax again. We're in the neutral spine the whole time. Soften down into the floor. Relax the buttocks. Relax the front of the hips. Soften the neck and shoulders. We'll do it one more time. Inhale, prepare. And exhale, gather the pelvic floor. Pull the jeans snug around the hips and zip them up. And then maintain that for a breath, keeping the jeans zipped up. That means the breath will have to be higher in the chest. And then relax that completely. And we're going to use that to stabilize as we do our arm lifts. We're not involving the obliques yet. We'll get there, but not yet. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, gather the pelvic floor, snug and zip the jeans, and then keep that engaged as you inhale the arms up towards the ceiling, and re-engage as you reach back. The shoulders are free, your arms might bend, your rib cage might flare, that's fine. Inhale, bring the arms up towards the ceiling, and then exhale, lower your arms down and release the work in the inner core. Soften, hopefully no movement in the pelvis and lower back. Again, inhale, arms float up towards the ceiling. And exhale, gather the inner core, snug the jeans, zip them up, reach the arms back. Again, the rib cage is free. Inhale, arms float up. And exhale, lower your arms down to the side, soften into gravity, release the work in the low core. When you let that go, you should feel a little kind of echo of that work. One more time. One, inhale, arms float up. Exhale, engage the inner core, zip up and reach the arms back. Now stay there, stay zipped up, and inhale. Feel how the ribs are flaring. And then add to that core work the unflaring of the front ribs. Imprint the back ribs. Feel a lot of stability. Inhale, arms float up towards the ceiling. And we're going to exhale into a head lift, keeping a neutral spine. Hands coming outside the thighs. Inhale, head down, arms up. Exhale, reset the inner core. Reach the arms back. Let the ribs be free. Stay while you inhale. Feel how the ribs are pulled up away from the mat. And then exhale, unflare the front ones and imprint the back ones. We have the inner core and the ribs unflared and imprinted. Arms up towards the ceiling, preparing for a head lift. And exhale into that little head lift, chin in towards the chest. One more time. Inhale, arms float up. Exhale, re-engage the inner core. Find the pelvic floor and the zipping up of the jeans. Stay with the arms back. Feel how the ribs are flaring. Unflare and imprint the ribs. And inhale, arms float up. Exhale, take a little head lift. And then inhale your head down. Arms up towards the ceiling. Pause right there with the arms in vertical. Drop your shoulders down and make some small circles. Think of the humeral heads. There's a ball there in the socket. Let it roll around the socket like a mortar and a pestle. And then reverse the circles. Feel the arm bone dropping deeply into the socket. And then keep your arms up there. Relax them. We're going to do the alternate leg lifts with the shoulders really relaxed. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, inner core, ribs knit and imprint. And keep the pelvis steady as you float the right foot up. And then lower it back down. Easy shoulders. Re-engage the inner core, the knitting and the imprinting, and lift up. Remember, you're zipping up every time you do the inner core today. And lower the foot back down. Again, inner core, zip yourself up, knit and imprint, and raise the right foot. And lower it back down. Stay stable in the pelvis. And then float the left foot. Stay zipped up. And we're preparing to be able to lift the head without any separation between the two sides of the six-pack muscles, the rectus abdominis. One more time. Even pelvis as the right foot comes up. And back down. And the left side. And back down. And then let's test that theory. Bring your fingers right near the belly button. You're going to let your fingertips go into the crease in the center of the belly. Relax everything and let the fingers drop down towards the floor. Take an inhale to prepare. Engage the inner core. Zip yourself up and then lift your head. And notice if there's a big indentation there, that's a diastasis. But you can overcome it with this wrapping. So let's try it a couple more times. Our goal is to not have this trench up the center of the belly deepen. Inhale, prepare. Wrap the jeans, zip them up, and then keep them zipped as you lift your head. And hopefully the fingers are staying even. If not, work with this over time. It works. Because I had a pretty big one after my second pregnancy. And if I engage it, I can keep it. If I don't engage it, that separation will still show up. So one more time. Engage the inner core, wrap the jeans, zip them up, and then lift the head. Keep the jeans zipped up, and then lower back down. And then we're going to bring the arms back up towards the ceiling. Soften the shoulders again. Re-engage the inner core, zip up, knit and imprint the ribs. And let's do some compound leg lifts. Lift the right foot up. Imprint the ribs strongly as you lift the left foot up, and then lower the right back down. Keep imprinting and lower the left. Now start with the left. Left foot up, imprint, and right foot up. Lower the left. Keep imprinting and lower down. Start with the right side again. Gather, zip, imprint, and knit. Right foot up and left foot up. This time I'm going to stay here and circle the ankles around. And reverse. And then flex the feet. Reach out through the balls of the feet, then point the toes. Pull the toes back and then flex your feet. Reach through the balls, point, Pull the toes back and flex. One more time like that. Reach to the ball of the foot, point the toes, pull the toes back, flex. Now keep your flex and then squeeze the toes in and fan the toes. Squeeze and fan and squeeze and fan. Now we're going to finish that compound leg lift. Reconnect with your inner core. Zip up, knit and imprint. Lower the right foot down and then the left foot down. Bring the arms to rest at the side. We're going to take a neutral spine pelvic lift. Engage the inner core. Gather, zip up, knit and imprint, and keep your neutral lower spine. Press into the feet evenly and raise your hips to the ceiling. And then hinge back down. Do it one more time. No movement in the spine. The hinge is the hip joints only. Press up with the exhale. And hinge down with the inhale. One more time. Exhale up. And inhale down. Neutral spine's in place. Gather the inner core. Zip up, knit and imprint. Lift the left foot up. And then the right foot. And we'll go to pistons. With your exhale, knit the ribs together. Tap one toe down. Inhale, lift up. And then the other side. Tap down with the exhale. One leg only, moving at a time. Make sure your ribs are staying together. If you feel any pull of the back ribs away from the mat, imprint more firmly and possibly don't go all the way down. You can just reach the foot down part way, or if you want more challenge, reach the foot a little farther down the mat. The movement's still all in the hip crease. Keep the back ribs down. And then let's take the hip circles, one hand on each knee. Flop the legs out wide. Take a moment with them flopped. Keep relaxed in the hips. And then start stirring your legs around. Really loosen the inner thighs and the front thighs. Your pelvis can rock, it's okay. And keep the legs floppy. Reverse. And give the knees a hug in. Lengthen the back of the neck, lengthen the lower spine. So we haven't used the rectus abdominis yet, but we're going to now. Engage your inner core, zip yourself up, knit and imprint the ribs, and then pull the pubic bone to the belly button so that you can float your arms up towards the ceiling without your knees moving away from the chest. Keep the back of the neck long, your shoulders still, your back ribs imprinted, and do the knee circles. All the movements below the waist. So get as much movement below the waist as you can without your rib cage moving above the waist. Keep the shoulders relaxed. If your arms are moving, that's a hint that your shoulders are not staying stable. Let's do one more in this direction. And then go the other way. Notice the back ribs, especially on the opposite side from the direction the knees are going. Okay, bring the knees into the chest. Again, lengthen the back of the neck as you lengthen the lower back. Then let's take a spinal twist. Both knees going over to the left. Right arm relaxed. Depending on how much stretch you want in the shoulder, you can vary the position of the shoulder. Let the legs relax as much as possible. If they don't go all the way down to the floor and it's tense holding them there, you could put a blanket or a pillow underneath your knees or underneath the top knee. Sometimes that feels good. And back into the center. Keep the back long, the back of the neck long. And take your exhale to bring your knees to the other side. Adjust the left arm where it's comfortable. And come back into the center. Once again, draw the knees in close. Lengthen the back of the neck. And then we're going to prepare for the 100. Reestablish your neutral spine, which means the Knees are away from the chest. You have your little lower back curve. Bring your hands down to your sides. Engage the pelvic floor. Wrap the jeans. Zip them up. Pull your ribs in. Press into the floor and lift your head. If you like, extend the legs. Imprint those back legs. Zip. Stay zipped up and exhale for 5. And inhale for 5. Keep thinking of that wrapping of the jeans and the zipping up the center. Exhale for 5 and inhale. Inhale for 5. Exhale, recommit to the wrapping of the jeans, the zipping up, the ribs knitting together, the back ribs imprinting. Exhale for 5 and inhale for 5. Exhale and inhale. One more time. Inhale. And then bring your knees into the chest. Put the head down. Relax your neck. Turn your head slowly from one side to the other. And then let's prepare for the leg circles. Extend your left leg straight out onto the floor and pull your right knee to your breastbone. Just take a moment. Feel the stretch across the front of the left leg, and maybe you're going to feel a little stretch in the back of the leg. That depends on your hamstring. So settle into the middle of the pelvis. Feel your tailbone root down. You might not be able to keep your knee all the way hugged in because that flattens the back a little bit. Move it out just a little. Get the tail down. Re-engage your inner core. Wrap and zip. Knit and imprint the ribs. Stretch your right leg up. Support it. And then bring your hands down and circle 5 times. I like to feel the pelvis, and you can place your thumbs on your ribs and your fingers on your pelvis to feel both things. And then reverse. 5 the other way. Pelvis steady. Ribs pulled together in the front and imprinted in the back. And then bend the knee. Pull it into the chest. I'm going to place the left hand down on the left hip. Bring the right knee out to the right armpit without tilting your pelvis. So don't let yourself rock. Keep the center of the pelvis really in. Reconnect with your inner core. Gather those jeans around. Zip yourself up. And then we're going to lift the head, trying to keep the zip up of the jeans. And look at the front of the pelvis. Just notice if it's actually steady or stable across the front. If your left hip is up, reach down through the back of the hip and the back of the left ribs. Then lower the head and bring the left knee into join. Both knees into the chest. Relax for a moment there. And straighten the right leg out, hugging the left knee into the breastbone. Lengthen the whole right leg. Feel that opening across the front right thigh. Relax the stretch just a little bit. Get nice and firmly connected through the tailbone, even across the back of the pelvis, and lengthen the left leg up to the ceiling. Stretch it up, re-engage, gather, and circle 5 times each way. Good. Make sure that your back ribs are staying down. Reverse after 5. Then we're going to bend the left knee and pull it to the left armpit. Stretching the knee over to the armpit, trying to keep rooted down through the right hip. And keep the knee aiming towards the left armpit. Reconnect with the supporter in the core. Zip yourself up and then lift your head and take a look. Notice if the pelvis is tilted, you can bring your right hip down. Reach the back right ribs down. And then release the head. Bring the right knee in, both knees coming to the chest. Let's bring the feet down to the floor. Relax in neutral. Bring the arms down to the sides. Now we're going to take a rolling pelvic lift. Gather the inner core, zip yourself up, then tilt your pelvis without pressing into your feet. Feel your pubic bone pull towards your belly button. Your lower back is going towards flat. It may not get flat, just go in that direction. Then press into your feet, completely flatten it, knit and imprint the ribs, and roll yourself up. Keep the thighs in line with the hip socket the whole time, so you got to work the inner thighs a little bit. And roll down, imprint, tilt the pelvis, keep tilting the pelvis, keep tilting it. Take a moment where you're in that pelvic tilt. Back is flat, but the tailbone is lifted up off of the mat, curled up the mat, and then release it back down. Let everything soften. You're returning to your neutral and relaxing for a moment. And then reconnect with the inner core, zip up with as little effort as possible in your feet. Tilt the pelvis, feel the pubic bone roll towards the belly button. Then press into the feet, flatten the pelvis completely. Feel the difference between those two impulses, and then continue up into the pelvic lift, keeping the inner thighs working, legs parallel to each other. Re-knit and imprint the ribs, tilt the pelvis, tilt it firmly, roll down through the spine. Keep tilting, keep tilting, keep tilting till your back is flat, and then pause there with the back flat. And then relax back down, soften completely. Release in your neutral. One more time, inner core first, gather and zip up. Tilt the pelvis without pressing into the feet. Good, and then press into the feet and tilt it a little bit more firmly. Now the lower back is flat. Press into the back ribs and roll yourself up. And come down, imprinting the back ribs, knitting the front ones, tilting the pelvis. Go just to the flat back position. Keep your back flat, so do not return to the neutral, and straighten your right leg out on the floor. You're keeping the back flat the whole time, pulling your pubic bone into the belly button, and then continue to flatten the back and straighten the left leg out, pull the pubic bone into the belly button. Then relax. When you relax, the position should change pretty dramatically. Let's bring the hands behind the head, interlace the fingers. This is now accentuating the flaring of the ribs. The legs out is accentuating the curve of the lower back. Engage the inner core, wrap the jeans around, zip yourself up, tilt the pelvis. See if you can get the lower back moving towards the floor. Imprint and knit the ribs. Scoop the belly so your back is as flat as it can be, and then bring your chin in towards your chest and roll just a little bit up. You're not going to go too far. Keep flattening your spine down, pulling the pubic bone to the belly button and thinking of that zip up. Breathe there. And then stay zipped up and release the head back down and let everything go. And again, inhale, prepare. Exhale, inner core. Zip yourself up and tilt the pelvis, knit and imprint the ribs with the back as flat as it can go. Roll up slightly. Press your belly button back into your spine. Stay zipped up, knitted and imprinted. And keep the back flat as you begin rolling down. And once the head's down, relax everything. One more time, inhale, prepare. Exhale, inner core first. Then zip yourself up, knit and imprint. Back is flattening, and lift the head. Breathe there and keep yourself zipped up. Keep flattening the spine. Good. Now I'm going to give you a challenge to see if you can get up into the roll up from here. You may not be able to. You might have to lower back down to the mat and get a head start, but give it a try. I'm going to bring the arms forward, scoop the belly in. Remember, the feet have to stay down. And you're going to roll yourself up. Sit tall. And then lengthen the front of the body. Remember, we don't want too much hump in the upper back. Lengthen the front of the body and lean forward without reaching. Let your elbows drop down and your head hang heavily. And then breathe slowly. Fill the back ribs with the breath. Your knees can be bent if necessary. You want to feel a gentle lengthening up the length of the spine without any exaggeration in the upper back. Think of your breastbone moving forward and drop your chin down. And then sit up. Scoop the belly. Engage the inner core. Zip yourself up. Knit an imprint. Bring the arms forward. The lower they go, the more help they give you, so keep them at whatever level feels good. Roll down, flat spine all the way down. Keep it flat and reach back. And then relax. Feel the exaggerated arch. And then re-engage inner core, tilt the pelvis, zip yourself up, knit an imprint, and roll up. Using momentum as little as possible, keeping the feet down, keeping the belly bent, scoop back to the spine. Lengthen the front of the body, and then lean forward. I'm touching my toes, but it's not like we're trying to get anywhere. It's just because my hamstrings are pretty stretched out. So don't feel like you're trying to touch your toes. What you're trying to do is relax the upper body, not bring tension into the neck, not overstretch the upper back. Good. Sit yourself up. Re-engage. Feel that lift that the inner core gives you, the gathering in the zip, the knit and imprint, and roll yourself down. Take it slow. And reach back and let everything relax. And we're going to do that one more time. Re-engage the low core first. Zip up, knit and imprint. And rely on the strength of the belly rather than momentum. If you're having trouble, you can put your hands on the sides of your legs and give yourself a little pull. Do that rather than let your feet come up. Lengthen and lean forward. Relax the neck. You can let the elbows drop down, the head be heavy. Remember, we want some length and opening in the front of the body. No crunching of the chest. And last time, rolling down, sit tall. Re-engage the inner core, zip up, knit and imprint, and roll down. Easy shoulders, feet staying on the floor. Again, if you need some help on the way down, put your hands on your outer thighs. Pull the belly button into the spine. Go slowly through the lower back, slowly through the ribs. Reach back, keep flattening. And then relax. And we'll move to the side now, taking a stretch of the right side by moving the feet a little to the left, the upper body a little to the left. Put your right foot over your left and hold your right wrist. Reach your right ribs and your right hip down to the mat and breathe slowly. Come back to the center. Recenter yourself. And then walk the feet to the right, the upper body to the right. Hold the left wrist, put the left foot over the right and reach down with your left hip and your left back ribs. Slow breath into your left side. And then back into the center. And float the arms up towards the ceiling. Relax the shoulders. Bring the knees one at a time into the chest. And rock yourself from side to side. Then bring the feet down to the floor. Return to the neutral rest position. Relax into gravity. Okay, we're going to turn onto the left side. Hey Tess, good morning. We're going to come out resting onto the left side. Make sure that the neck is comfortable. So your left ear is resting on your left arm, or you can place a pillow between your arm and your ear. Or if you need more support, left arm forward and a little higher support here. Feet slightly forward of the hips. Top hand on the top waist. Relax into gravity. Take an inhale to prepare. With the exhale, engage the inner core and then take an organ lift. Think of your organs lifting up off of the mat. Feel the firmness come into the top waist. Maintain that. So you're constantly lifting the organs up, and lift and lower the top leg 5 times there. Notice with your fingers as the leg goes down, we want to keep the lift in the waist up. On this last one, just halfway down so that the leg is right in line with the hip socket. Keep your organ lift going. Circle the leg 5 times. Nice and snug around the pelvis with the inner core. Zipped up from pubic bone to sternum and organs lifted away from the mat. And then reverse 5 times the other way. Lifting the organs up, relax the neck and shoulder. After the 5th one, pause. Your leg is still lifted at hip socket height. Fingertips can come to the mat if you need to for the lower leg lift. Use your exhale to bring the bottom thigh up and lower back down. And lift and lower. And lift. Try not to bend your toes towards each other. I'm sorry you can't see my feet, but maybe I'm going to bring them into the camera for a second. It's not important that the toes touch, for example, like that. Better to just have the thigh lift without the feet touching if that's the choice. On the last one, leave the top leg lifted. Reset your inner core and your organ lift. Again, fingertips can come down if you like. And it really moves in a small range of motion. Knit the ribs together and move your top leg behind you without allowing your rib cage to come forward. So you don't want to drop forward or your pelvis to move at all. We don't want the lower back to be compressing. Inhale forward and exhale back. Really concentrate as you go back on the ribs pulling together. Inhale forward and exhale back. Inhale forward, exhale back, inhale forward. Now externally rotate. I'm going to get my feet in here again. Externally rotate. Take your heel and drop it to the front. Internally rotate and reach behind you. Again, don't do it with your toes. This is what it looks like if you do it with your toes. See how my ankle is bent? So internally rotate and then keep the ankle straight as you go back. Externally rotate, heel to the front. Internally rotate the thigh, don't bend the ankle and reach back. You might not touch the floor, that's fine. External rotation to the front, internal rotation to the back. And then come back into the center. Again, fingertips can be on the mat if you want, and raise the bottom thigh to the top thigh, and then keeping both legs together, lower them down almost all the way, and then re-engage your organ lift and lift them up again. Lower and lift, and lower and lift. Twice more. And then bring both legs down. Let them relax completely. And then we're going to bend the knees all the way to a 90-degree angle, meaning that the feet and the knees are going to be parallel with the front of the mat. Keep your hand on your waist for a moment. Soften in the waist. Engage the inner core and see if the waist still stays soft. See if you can actually differentiate between that gathering of the jeans and the organ lift. It should feel different. And we're going to try to not use the organ lift, so we really use the transversus 10 times, rolling the top leg out in the socket. So we want the right hip pushing forward and the organ lift staying relaxed. Keep relying on the belt or that sense of the jeans pulling snug around your hips. When you're done with 10, relax. And then we're going to move into the 45-degree hip flexion, which means your knees are at the front of the feet. The knees are at the front of the mat. The feet are in line with the sit bones. Still want the right hip tilted forward. Still want the waist to stay relaxed as you engage the inner core. And then external rotation here. Roll the thigh out in the socket. Think of the rolling. The work's coming in the buttock. And 5 more. Right hip should keep pushing forward the whole time. When you're done, relax completely. And then finally to the 0-degree flexion, where your knees are directly under the hips in line with the head. If that's too much, bring them a little bit forward. But we want to feel some length here at the front of the hips. And the top leg can be lifted slightly the whole time if that's better for your knee. Engage your inner core. Now take an organ lift and stabilize the pelvis, and 10 times roll the thigh out in the socket here. Again, the right hip comes forward. Think of reaching your right knee away from your head as you roll it out in the socket. And we're going to stretch out with this spinal twist. This time the top leg is going to be straight. So you're going to straighten out your right leg. Reach down and grab your toes or your calf or your thigh. And then roll the right arm out to the side. And lengthen between your right hand and your right foot. Slow breathing there. And then onto your back. Bring both knees in. Hug the knees if you want to rock side to side, or relax the head, turning from side to side. Go ahead. And then we're going to turn over to the right side. Stretch out on the right side. Legs are straight, slightly forward of the hips. Hands on the waist. Feel yourself relax for a moment. Then engage the inner core. Still the waist is relaxed. And then take your organ lift, and there you're going to find the tone. And then 5 times lift and lower the top leg. Neck and shoulders relaxed. We're in a parallel position, so the knees still pointing straight in front of you. On the last one, halfway down, and then circle. Reconnect with your belt. Little zip up from pubic bone to belly button. No organ lift yet, though. And then reverse. Make sure your ribs are staying together. Then re-stabilize with the top leg at hip socket height, fingertips on the mat if necessary, bottom leg lifts and lowers. Again, try not to distort the ankle. It doesn't matter if the toes touch. Think of the inner thighs touching. And then re-engage with the ribs. You have to really knit them together. Exhale, reach your top leg behind you, and inhale, bring it forward without any rocking of the rib cage. Not only is the pelvis stable, the ribs are too. Your organ lift is strongly in place. Your belt is wrapped snug around your hips. And then we're going to take the external rotation. Roll the leg out in the socket. Flex your foot and drop your heel down. Roll in, point your toes, and reach the toes behind you. External rotation to the front, internal rotation to the back, and of course we're stabilizing the trunk. Sorry, trying to get my foot in the picture. Lengthen and reach back. And finally, the lower leg comes to meet the top one, and then we lower almost all the way down with both legs and lift back up. Power that lift from your organ lift. And bring both legs down, relax completely. And then we're going to go to a 90-degree hip flexion. Feet and knees at the front of the mat. Keep your hand on your waist, observe, let it soften. Keep it soft, engage the inner core. And then roll the left leg out in the socket to lift the knee. 2 sets of 5. Pelvis is stable. Use your belt, your transversus. You can zip yourself up from the pubic bone to the belly button. Probably if you go farther than that, it's going to be hard to sort out the obliques. So just keep all of your attention below the waist and keep the organ lift soft. Relax completely. And then open out the angle a little bit. Waist is still soft. Re-engage the inner core. Stabilize the pelvis. And 10 rotations here. Push the left hip forward a little bit. Check that you're not rolling back. You want the front of the pelvis always slightly forward. And then we're going to open out more, straightening the front of the thighs as much as your body will allow. 0 degrees of hip flexion. Engage the inner core, wrap the belt along, zip yourself up, and now do include an organ lift. And let's, oh no, we didn't do that on the other side, I'm sorry. 10 times, keeping the pelvis steady. Good. Feel the length at the front of the thigh. Reach your knee away from your head. And we're going to take the twist, put the top leg straight out in front of you. Grab the foot or the leg wherever you can. Open the upper body out. The angle at the shoulder is wherever it feels good. Slow breathing there. And then come to your back. Knees into the chest. Return your feet to the floor. Take a moment in constructive rest pose. And then we're going to turn onto the stomach. Start with the hands underneath the forehead. Head's in the center, so the forehead is attached to the hands. The chin is tucked into the notch of the neck. Legs can be a little separated, wherever the legs are comfortable. Engage your inner core, zip up, and then pull your ribs together. Glue your hands to your forehead and exhale. Lift your chest, arms, and head up. You see, it's not a big movement. And then lower back down. Relax everything. Set it up again. Inner core, knit the ribs, and lift the whole upper body. Feel your upper back working. Relax as much as you can in the lower back, and then lower back down. Let everything relax. One more time. Set the inner core first, then knit the ribs and raise the upper body. Feel as much work as you can between the shoulder blades. Lengthen your breastbone away from your belly button. And then relax back down. Let everything completely relax. Now you may have noticed your legs working there. We're going to bring the hands down by the sides, forehead or cheek, whichever you prefer, on the floor. Now we're going to intentionally work the legs. Engage the inner core, pull the ribs in, and with your exhale, lift everything up, head, arms, chest, and legs. So now you're working your lower back quite a bit and working the backs of the legs, lower back down. Let it all relax. And again, inner core, knit the ribs, lift everything up. Bring your legs as close together as you comfortably can. And release back down. Let it all go. One more time, re-engage and lift. And let it all release back down. Now we're going to separate the legs and keep them soft. Bring the arms to cactus and turn the head to the side. Relax the front and the back of the thighs. Engage your inner core, knit your ribs, try not to squeeze the buttocks, and lift just a little bit up without using the buttocks and the legs. Turn your head into the center. Breathe the breastbone forward. Keep the legs as soft as you can. And then exhale, lower down, turn your head the other way, let everything relax. And set the inner core without squeezing the buttocks. Engage the low belly, pull the ribs in, lift the chest and the head. Head to the center. Keep your legs as passive as you can. Inhale, breathe into the breastbone, move the breastbone forward. And then lower down and reverse the head. Let everything relax. Once again, inner core first, knit the ribs, come up. Keep the legs passive. Inhale into the chest. And exhale, release. Lower back down with the head the opposite way. Soften. And then arms straight forward like Superman, forehead on the floor. Bring the legs together, really engage them for a moment. And reach your feet out away from your head, engage your thighs, pull your thighs up your kneecaps up to your hips, and then feel the front thighs engaging. And then relax that. Separate the legs a little. Keeping the legs as relaxed as you can. Find the inner core. And exhale, raise the chest and the head. Good. Really releasing the legs. And lower back down. Do that same thing twice more. Stay as released as you can in the buttocks and the legs. Using the inner core and knitting the ribs, but without squeezing the butt. And lower back down. Relax everything completely when the forehead goes down. One more time. And release. Okay, we're going to lift up to all fours. Hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Inhale and draw the breastbone forward. Feel your ribs knit together so you've got some support. And then tuck your tail, bend your elbows, bring your hips back and stretch the lower back. Relax the upper back. Inhale, come up again. Draw the breastbone forward. And exhale, tuck your tail, bend your elbows and move your hips back to your heels. Relax the neck. Again, lift up. Lengthen the front of the body. Move back, gently stretch the back. Bend the elbows, soften, bring the hips back. Stay back in the child's pose for a moment. Relax there. Then lift to all fours. Engage your inner core. Pull your ribs together. Imagine all those abdominal fibers making that basket weave of support. Neutral spine's in place. Shoulder girdle's in place. I'm going to keep the pelvis really still and stretch the left leg out behind. Good. And continue to keep the pelvis still, knit the ribs in, and reach the right arm out forward. It can come as high as in line with the ear, but it might not be. Keep your shoulder girdle still. And continue to steady through your pelvis and see if you can sneak the left foot up off of the mat without changing the position of the hips. Then lengthen long from fingers to toes. And lower the foot. Keep your legs straight. Bring your hand down. Re-engage in the low core and bring your knee back under you, keeping the pelvis completely still as you pull the knee underneath you. And then reset to do it the other pair. Engage the inner core, knit the ribs, get a good basket weave of support. Keep the pelvis completely still as you straighten the right leg out behind you. Your toes are still on the floor. Stabilize the pelvis and then extend the left arm forward. It may come up as high as the ear, it may not. Try to keep the spine completely stable and then see if you can lift the right leg a little bit. Lengthen from the toes to the fingers without tilting the pelvis or the ribs. And then lower the foot down. Keep your legs straight. Restabilize. Bring the hand back down to the mat. And keep your pelvis completely still as you pull the knee up underneath you. Relax for a moment in your neutral. And re-engage your low core. Tuck your toes under. Press into the floor with your hands and lift your knees. Hover up off of the mat for a moment, pressing the floor away from you. And drop the knees back down. And do it again. Engage the inner core. Knit the ribs. Press the floor away. And hover the knees up off of the mat. Breathe. Keep engaging, but breathe. And lower the hips back down. Relax for a moment. And do it one more time. If that's bothering your back, go into child's pose. Reset. Press the floor away. Lift the hips. And then knees down. And round your back. Go back to child's pose. Relax there. And then over to the stomach. Over to the back. Lying on your back in neutral. Engage the inner core and lift the right ankle or the right foot up so that the right ankle comes to the left knee. Stay steady across the back of the pelvis as you lift your left foot up off of the mat. Bring your hands behind your left thigh. Reach your tailbone down to the floor and then stretch the left leg up to the ceiling. And then bend it and bring it back down. And stretch and lift up. And bend and bring it back down. One more time. Stretch, lift it up. And bend. Now we're going to stay in the stretch. If you want to hold over the front of the shin in front of behind the thigh, you can do that. Stretch is for the right buttock, so do the variation that helps you feel the work in the right butt without tilting over to the right side. Stay centered in the back of the pelvis and breathe. Abdominal muscles can soften. And then lower both feet down. Relax completely. And set up the core. Support as you bring your left ankle over to your right knee. Lift the right leg up. Hold the back of the thigh. And stretch up with the right leg. And bend at the knee. And stretch up. And bend. One more time. And then adjust for the hip stretch. Emphasizing the stretch in the left buttock. Relax everything. Be even at the back of the pelvis and slowly breathe. And uncross your ankle. Bring your knees both into the chest. Then move the knees arm's distance away from the chest. Reestablish your neutral lower spine. Bring the feet as high as the knees, neutral tabletop. We're going to do the crisscross. Bring the hands behind the head. Take an inhale. Exhale, engage the inner core. Pull those jeans tight, zip them up, knit and imprint the ribs, lift the head. Now you got your pelvis really stabilized. Your rib cage is stabilized, and we're going to move it all in one piece as we bicycle and twist. Make sure you're reaching all the way over with the breastbone. Armpit right, reaching over towards the opposite knee. We're not making any attempt to touch the elbow to the knee. Keep the elbows out wide. Neutral spine in place. And then bring your knees into your chest, put the head down, rock the knees, slowly turn the head. And then roll to your side and sit yourself up. Sit with the knees bent, the sit bones down. Put your hands against the front of your thighs, shins, and lift your chest up. Open the breastbone. And then relax. Let the head nod down towards the knees. Just relax. Again, don't over curl. Just soften. And press your hands into the shins again. Open the chest. You should feel a little work in the upper back here. And then relax and soften. You don't need to overemphasize the hug, just give in to gravity. And one more time. Press into the shins, lift the breastbone up away from the chest, the thighs. And then relax, let the head hang, soften the shoulders. Then lift up, and that's where we'll stop. So, happy Labor Day weekend, everybody. I'm out in the Finger Lakes. Hope you all have a great weekend. See you all soon, I hope. Be well, and thanks for being here. Thanks.